Labour and business rail against proposed hike in the value-added tax rates. EFCC seeks tougher stance against oil thieves. In international news, British Prime Minister Theresa May pursues Brexit extension in Brussels. And in sport, Nigeria's under-19 team close to qualifying for Cricket's World Cup.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. It was only a few days ago that Nigerians learned of a proposed increase in the value-added tax rate from 5 to 7.5%. Many positions have been foisted from how it could raise consumers' prices and inflation if approved. Executive Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Tunde Fowler, told the Senate Committee on Finance earlier in the week the 2.5% increase would raise VAT revenue by up to 50%. Director General of the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, Segun Kadru, says rather than increase the VAT rate, the government should broaden the tax net. Nigerian Labour Union President Ayuba Waba says the government should instead go after individual tax dodgers and multinationals that are in the habit of not paying tax. Some experts in economic organizations, including Nairametrics, say even with the increase to 7.5%, Nigeria would still charge one of the lowest VAT rates in the world. Hungary charges the highest rate in Europe at 27%. To court matters, the Federal High Court in Abuja said no to Bayok Pamobo Awara and Ben Gurum Peter of the African Action Congress, who had filed an application requesting that the court stop the Independent National Electoral Commission from resuming collation, concluding and announcing the results of the Rivers State governorship election held 2 weeks ago. The court said it could not grant such a request without hearing from the other parties. The judge has ordered the plaintiffs to notify INEC and the PDP to appear with them to argue the case before him on Monday. Justice Inyang Ekwo had referred the plaintiffs' attorneys to the false information circling the social media that he had restrained INEC from taking further action on the Rivers election and cautioned those behind what he called the false news, saying resorting to self-help as such was wrong and prohibited in the judiciary. President Muhammad Buhari has refused to sign 5 bills passed by the National Assembly. The president said he is acting constitutionally, citing Section 51, subsection 4, to back his decision to withhold assent to those bills. In a memo to the Senate, the president cited conflict in part of the bills passed by the Senate. The 5 bills are the Nigerian Film Commission Bill 2018, Climate Change Bill 2018, Immigration Amendment Bill 2018, and Chartered Institute of Pension Practitioners of Nigeria Bill 2018 and Digital Rights and Freedom Bill 2018. Deputy Majority Leader of the Abia State House of Assembly, Chief Solomon Akpunono, wants the federal government to urgently fix the Aba-Ikot-Ekpene road to ease the suffering of motorists. Akpunono says the road holds together the economic lifeline of the Bingwa East State constituency, which he represents. He says his people have suffered untold hardship because of the road's deplorable condition. He also said the road has been featuring in annual national budgets since 2009 without the federal government issuing contracts to carry out the construction. Akpunono says more than 500 businesses located on the Aba-Ikot-Ekpene road had shut down because of the road's poor condition. Acting Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Mago, is calling for more stringent stance to stop illegal oil bunkering and theft in the South-South. He is recommending stiffer penalties. Mago is also quoted as referring to the South-South as the cash cow of Nigeria, and that it would not just be a matter of law enforcement but a patriotic duty to tackle the problem of oil theft, which he says brings in at least 80% of the nation's revenue. He was speaking through a representative during a visit to the commander of the Nigerian Navy ship Pathfinder, Commander S. Bura, in Port Harcourt. Bura says the Navy is ready to offer its best services in the interest of the nation. And some members of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and rival People's Democratic Party, PDP, have joined hands to embark on fasting and prayer. One may think they are doing so because it's lengthened period, but no. They're fasting and praying so there would be a favorable judgment by the Election Petitions Tribunal on PDP's Ademola Adeleke's petition against Adegboyega Oyetola's election as a Osun State governor last year. The tribunal in Abuja had informed both parties it would deliver judgments on the case on Friday. And coming up, African stories, Kenya's deputy president denies Kenya starving to death. And later, international news, Theresa May pursues Brexit extension in Brussels.
You are watching ANN.
Looking for some Disney magic but don't know where to find it? We've got a magical solution just for you. Simply go to DisneyNigeria.mobi and get an exciting selection of games, short videos, wallpapers, shareables, and more. Explore a whole new world of Disney on your mobile, tablet, or PC. For just 200 Naira monthly, you get to enjoy the fun to infinity and beyond. SMS Disney to 11006 to begin. Terms and conditions apply. This service is only available to MTN customers.
Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website, annafrica.net, and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, African News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and African Stories. Cyclone Idai has done its worst and has moved away from southern Africa, but countries in its path are still cleaning up and their citizens readjusting their lives to new realities. One of those countries, Zimbabwe, is intensifying rescue efforts as many still need help. Reporter Faria Wakuyuta brings us closer to the action.
After days of bad weather, rescuers managed to cut through fallen trees and clear debris that had blocked roads to get to a rescue center where helicopters were finally able to fly into the worst affected areas. It's been a non-stop shuttle service by these helicopters who've been flying critical supplies to marooned communities and bringing back dozens of injured desperately in need of medical attention. The injured are being brought here for initial assessment and triaging before transfer to Chipinge Hospital.
We've head injuries, some have fractures, broken limbs, some also broken pelvis or hips. Most of the patients are saying it's because of mud. They were covered, partly covered by mud and stones, or the house gave in and fell on top of them. Some of the people have fevers. We were just noticing the temperatures are high because of the open wounds that they have. Some are saying they got injured around Friday, so they didn't get attention from there, so some of the wounds were now septic.
It's been a harrowing experience for those who've made it out alive, one that's likely to leave permanent scars long after the superficial ones have healed.
We may treat the wounds now, but there are a lot of mental health issues that will arise from this. I've heard some of the stories from the people, the local people, some of the patients, what has happened to them, the people they have lost, and the scenarios. Those people need counseling. They'll need psychiatric help to get over those things, because some of them, they have lost the whole family, some have lost children, and the way they are describing it, that will have an effect on their mental health.
At least 500 people are reported still missing somewhere in the valleys of Chimanimani. Rescuers are in a race against time to reach them before it's too late. All this under the watchful eye of survivors, lucky enough to have escaped unscathed, but now in anguish as they wait, hoping their loved ones and neighbors might be among those coming in on the next flight.
The devastation was not an isolated event to Zimbabwe. Malawi, which actually got inundated by heavy rains and floods, days ahead of Cyclone Idai, is still digging out. The floods have disrupted life there, including pupils who now learn in makeshift and outdoors classrooms. Reporter Daniel Rapmoy brings us that story.
Hundreds of children in southern Malawi have seen their lives turned upside down by the devastating floods. School authorities have been compelled to organize classes and continue with academic work under trees. The situation has become unbearable for both teachers and pupils as torrential rains continue to disrupt academic exercise.
Most of the learners, they are not coming to school because the rivers are flooded and they are unable to cross those rivers to come to school.
Some of the pupils studying under trees say academic exercise comes to a halt whenever it rains. Displaced parents remain uncertain about the future of their children as their hope for a quick recovery fades away.
The problem is that many students lost some books and learning materials such as ruler, pencils, and men.
We ask the government to help us with shelter. We don't have food. We don't have blankets, and our children are not able to go to school because they have nothing to wear.
Some have now opted to seek learning inside abandoned village church house over fears of possible return of the deadly flash floods. These children have not only had their education dreams shattered, they have also lost their homes, schools and even friends. In Full Primary School, children lack the basics of education as condition forces them to sit on the cold classroom floor. According to officials, torrential rain and flash floods have displaced more than 200,000 children south of Malawi. The Department of Disaster Management Affairs says 56 people have died and 577 injured due to the heavy downpour and subsequent floods south of Malawi. Forecasts predict the severe weather may continue in the coming days and weeks, intensifying the dangerous situation for thousands of children. For now, these little children need all the help they can get, and they need it now.
Kenya Deputy President William Ruto has insisted that no Kenyan has starved to death because of the drought in parts of the country. During the Interprofessional Summit in Mombasa on Wednesday, Ruto dismissed media reports that 11 have died as a result of drought. He said it is fake news and that the reports are not true. Ruto said the government is working round the clock to ensure no one dies of hunger in Kenya. The deputy president said those who reported the so-called deaths have been taken for questioning because, as reported, they were playing with a serious matter. When we return, international news, Brexit extension takes Theresa May to Brussels. And later, sports. Nigeria's under-19 team closer to qualify for Cricket World Cup.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan.
MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to world events. Today, the final European Union summit before the United Kingdom leaves the EU is taking place and tensions are high. British Prime Minister Theresa May is asking EU's 27 members for a short extension to the end of June on the original Brexit deadline. Her withdrawal agreement proposals have so far been rejected by lawmakers. But the EU has raised the stakes in Britain's political crisis on Wednesday. European Council President Donald Tusk told British MPs to either back Theresa May's withdrawal plans negotiated with the EU or leave without a deal, something economists say would be disastrous for the UK. His intervention came after May was forced to invoke Article 50 for an extension as she prepared for the crunch meeting at the EU summit. New Zealand has banned the sale of assault rifles and semi-automatic weapons after the country's worst ever attack in which 50 persons were killed in 2 mosques. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern told a news conference the ban is in the national interest and it's about safety to prevent an act of terror from ever happening again in New Zealand. Ardern says she expects the new law to be in place by mid-April. Buyback schemes will be established for banned weapons. Ardern said the suspect arrested in the attacks had purchased those weapons legally and enhanced their capacity by using 30-round magazines done easily through a simple online purchase. The changes in New Zealand's gun laws are expected to curtail future acts of random violence like the mass shootings in Christchurch. But the reality of the recent events still haunts victims' families. 2 of those cut down by the shooter were laid to rest on Wednesday. Reporter Greg Navarro was there.
The bodies of a father and his teenage son killed in the Christchurch shootings were carried on the shoulders of mourners to a gravesite. Another teenage son who was badly injured but survived the attacks remained at their side.
Having the son stand over his father and brother, he himself wounded, and to farewell and say to his father, I don't want to be here alone. That was devastating.
They are the first of 50 funerals that will take place here over the coming days, all of them killed by a lone gunman while praying inside 2 mosques last Friday. Dozens more were injured.
Even when he was giving condolences, we tried to not shake his hand and try to not lift his hand and not touch his foot because they're still wounded, but he refused. He wanted to shake everybody's hand. He wanted to show them that I appreciate what you've done, and that's amazing.
Frustration is beginning to grow for other victims' families, forced to wait while authorities carefully build their case against the suspected gunman and, more importantly, make sure they've positively identified each person. In fact, the chief coroner has reportedly said the last thing anyone wants is to return the wrong body to the wrong family. Crime scene investigators were nearing the end of their work at one of the mosques. Both plan to open again by the end of the week. Tributes to the victims continue to grow across Christchurch, this one now stretching hundreds of meters. Samantha Fitzgerald didn't personally know any of the victims, but she said she wanted to do something to show her support for the families and the community.
We're all in this together and we want the Muslim community to just know that we're actually grieving.
And she says, like so many here, grieving alongside those directly impacted by the attacks.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has begun his first foreign trip of the year. The 3-country European tour will take him to Italy, Monaco and France. He is expected to strengthen bilateral relations with each of the 3 nations. Reporter Seo Huwayo is traveling with the president.
Amid the European Union's messy divorce from the UK, some EU members await the arrival of Chinese President Xi Jinping. China's foreign ministry confirms Xi's state visits to Italy, Monaco, and France, March 21st to the 26th. It comes following invitations from Italian President Sergio Mattarella, Prince Albert II of Monaco, and French President Emmanuel Macron. President Xi plans to meet with each.
Last year, bilateral trade volume reached $682 billion.
and the EU has been China's largest trading partner for 15 consecutive years.
Wang says President Xi's visit will inject a new impetus into China-EU relations. This is the president's first overseas trip this year, which will kick off in 2 Italian cities, Rome and Palermo.
For China and Italy, we have been good friends over the years. We have enhanced strategic mutual trust and achieved fruitful cooperation in different areas, and this indeed brought tangible benefits to the development of our respective countries and expanded common interests. It serves the interests of both countries.
Despite weakening global trade throughout 2018, China and Italy's bilateral trade volume reached a record high of $54.23 billion, and the strong momentum appears to be continuing with the upcoming visit. Chinese President Xi Jinping once said China-Europe partnerships feature peace, growth, reform, and civilization. These 4 words will once again be the central themes in the president's upcoming visit, which sends a clear message that China will always regard the European Union as an important strategic partner and its ties with Europe a diplomatic priority.
Still ahead, sports. Nigeria's under-19 team closer to qualifying for Cricket World Cup. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby. We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward. Wait, stop. You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down, keep walking to the left. Yes. You're almost here. Keep going. You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Welcome back. This is ANN News Sports. National under-19 cricket team, the Junior Yellow Green, are closer to the South Africa 2020 World Cup qualification, doing so well to retain the only unbeaten team at the African qualifiers in Namibia. Nigeria struggled in the opening stages of the game, losing 4 wickets in the opening 15 overs with just 14 runs on the board. Emmanuel Dumbe Boso, who was kidnapped on Tuesday, has been released. His coach of Cameroonian First Division club, Young Sports Academy of Bamenda. A club official confirmed that Coach Boso was adopted while driving to the team's base for training. Boso won the 2013 Cameroon Cup with Young Sports. He has worked with Union Douala and Sabli de Batier. Boso has so far declined to comment on his ordeal. And that is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on this and other stories, visit our website, annafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.